Hello, and welcome to the Dallas Songwriters Association's Songwriter Spotlight. I'm Barbe McMillen. Each month, we explore the songs and stories of an award-winning songwriter. I'm your host, and I could not do this without the man with the behind-the-scenes technical expertise, our director, Harry Hewlett. Thank you, Harry. And thanks for ramrodding the DSA talent on our local stages and into this spotlight. Tonight, our spotlight is on RENEE SAFIER and Andy Hill. RENEE and Andy are Southern California favorites, and along with their band Hard Rain, they have taken their unique sound and multi-instrumental skills to venues large and small all over the world, including New Zealand, Ireland, Italy, Thailand, the Philippines, China, and across North America. They are known for their numerous energy-packed live performances and have made a name for themselves as producers and performers of Dylan Fest, an 8-hour music festival attended by hundreds of fans and featuring many of LA's top musicians. They just completed their 34th annual. Andy and RENEE's band, Hard Rain, have been named Best of the Beach for many consecutive years by the Easy Reader, and their 17th CD and 3 DVD releases have also won them countless awards from many music organizations, including Los Angeles Music Awards, Americana Group of the Year, Best Duo Group at the International Acoustic Music Awards, Quivac.com Top 40 CDs of the Year, runner-up for Best Folk Act at Crossroads Music Awards, and 2 years run for a 2-year run in the Musician magazine for Best Unsigned Band semifinals. Also, they've garnered numerous category awards from the Dallas Songwriters Song Contest from the years 2011 to 2023 and performed at our awards program in January. Their performance was so great that we decided that you, our audience, deserve to hear a full hour of their talented tunes and some time to get to know them. Their calendar is very full and they perform over 200 gigs a year. So we're very, very lucky to have them here today with us. Please welcome RENEE SAFIER and Andy Hill.
Thank you so much. All right, I guess we'll just get right into it. Thanks, Barb. Thanks, Harry.
1, 2, 3, 4. If what doesn't kill me makes me stronger, I should be invincible now. I can't play this role any longer. Draw the curtains, take a bow. I treated you like the lover I always hoped you could be, but I'll be riding shotgun on Haley's Comet the day I complete that sonnet. With you there's no us, no other. There's just me, me, me. Don't wanna be your best friend forever. Don't want you to love me like a brother, or be your shoulder to cry on when you need another insignificant other. The times I've been most lonely weren't when I was alone. No, you were lying right beside me, glancing at your phone. Still, I treated you like the woman I always hoped you'd become. My chest aches when each shadow I see is your horse trying to run free. There's nothing between your except a whole lot of gone. Don't wanna be your best friend forever. Don't want you to love me like a brother, or be a shoulder to cry on when you need another insignificant other. I seen a shooting star tonight, and just for a moment or two, I thought of something else in the world that wasn't you. Don't wanna be your best friend forever. You need another insignificant other. Oh, a champion. Yeah, insignificant other. Insignificant other.
Sun slips under a gray sky, wondering about you and thinking I could make it through. Oh, another day or two. Words come round my head, an awful noise, thinking that I gotta make a choice about leaving you. Oh, what to do? Then I see when the old feelings rise. I see the hurt in your eyes. I wanna hold you, I wanna hold you. When there's someone who'd make me stay, or should I walk away? Battering ram inside my brain, pounding on the door and I'm afraid I'm losing you. Are you gonna walk on through? Can't stop the din inside my head, thinking about the day and what's ahead of you and me. Oh, what will be? Then you see me, you see me, and the old feelings rise. You see the love in my eyes. You wanna hold me, you wanna mold me into someone who'll make you stay. Stay with me another day. Oh, can you remember?
Oh, can you
Stay with me.
Stay with me.
Stay with me.
Stay with me.
Another day.
Stay with me.
Another day.
Stay with me.
Another day.
All
All
righty.
right.
Hey, you guys have been together for a long time.
We
Uh,
have.
I read somewhere that you guys met by chance at the University of Colorado. Were you both going to school there?
Well, it was actually the University of Denver, which is a smaller school in Denver, and
Okay.
they have a really, really great hockey program, and they just actually won the NCAA championship again in the Frozen Four, and
The 10th time.
yeah, for the most times of any other university, which is kind of cool.
Wow.
But the reason I bring that up isn't from my school pride. It's because Andy was on hockey scholarship there. He's a really great hockey player.
Oh.
And I was there, and I was actually warned off of hockey players. They had bad reputations. So I never really went to a bunch of hockey games. But it turned out I was in an acoustic trio, and Andy's girlfriend at the time was kind of a fan of our band. So she brought Andy to come see us at a gig, and he sat in. And what'd you play?
I remember playing Bob Seger's Not Against the Wind, Night Moves.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So Andy played Night Moves, and I was like, oh, maybe we should, do a show together or something. So the two guys I was with, Bill Severis and Terry Dopcant, we were called Sierra, and we were just a trio, and we were played all through our time at school. So we decided we wanted to emulate Dylan and go electric. So we had Andy play the drums. So the first gig I did with Andy, he was playing drums.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and his friend Mike Tanner played the bass. And luckily, Andy had lent us his guitar because we did a bunch of alternate tunings, and we wanted to lessen the time, of tuning in between songs. So luckily, the guitar fell over and broke during the show. Didn't seem lucky at the time, but in retrospect, it was probably a life-changing event. So because we had to do we did a few more shows after that to kind of raise money to try to help pay for the guitar getting fixed. Yeah, and then it kind of took root.
And then we graduated. This all happened in the last month of being at the University of Denver.
Oh.
And then as, we did these 3 shows and bang, went our separate ways. I returned to Burnaby, British Columbia, Canada.
So you grew up in Canada?
Yes.
Okay.
And RENEE stayed in Denver and formed an all-girl rock and roll band and went on tour for the next 3 years, and I played in a band in British Columbia for 3 years.
RENEE, did you grow up in Denver?
I didn't. I'm from Texas, actually.
Are you where?
Yeah, I was born in San Antonio, and when it's funny because when I hear you talk, Barb, I kind of go back to it, I lived in Richardson too, so I went
okay.
I went
Good
to
old Texas girl there, but you
Yeah,
hadn't been here in a
so-
long time.
No, well, I mean I've been there, but I haven't lived there in a long
I
time.
haven't lived here in a long
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
So so I was living on the East Coast actually when I was in high school with the DC area, and so just happened to go to DU. My mom's from Colorado, so that was kind of a little bit of a push
So
there.
when you guys are songwriting, how much of your growing up part of your life influences your songwriting, do you think? I mean, RENEE, do you bring a little Texas to your songs? And Andy, how about the Canadian? Is it there?
No one has ever asked that question. I suppose I'm going to speculate here and say that where you're from and how you were raised is probably influences you the same way being alive influences you. I know that I've described my politics as Canadian, and that sort of informs the point of view that you bring to how you're going to tell your story. but I'm not quite sure what the answer is to that.
Well, I would say, I mean, for me, I'm not a really prolific songwriter by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely, you know, what you hear when you grow up has to influence you, right? And you know, I think the song, I was fortunate enough for you guys to pick one of the songs I wrote for this past year's awards, and that was a pure country song. For sure. It's called I Fall Apart. But Andy, just being like an observer and a friend of yours for so long, I mean, you obviously, you know, love a lot of Canadian artists, obviously not solely, but, you know, Leonard Cohen and Joni Mitchell, you like the Guess
those
Who, and
those
you know,
Canadian folk
Neil
singers.
Young,
Neil Young, So it can't help it. I mean, my first guitar teacher was in Dallas, was a guy named Bob Boyer. If anybody knows who he is, I can't find him. His name's too common to really find him anywhere.
Oh, somebody might know, though.
Yeah,
Well,
but I
we'll see.
remember he would come to my house, and he had an acoustic hollow body electric guitar with a whammy bar on it. And I had my little 3/4 nylon string acoustic guitar, but I thought all like big people guitars had whammy bars on them. And my first time playing in a club, I was 12, and I played with his country western band. I can't remember where it was, but you know, my parents drove me, and I did 3 songs, and you know, the first song they listen because you're just a kid and they're interested, and then by song 3, like they're back to smoking and drinking and talking. And I told my parents I was never going to do that again. So,
Right.
yeah, so I'm totally untrustworthy. Don't believe a thing I say.
Can't believe a word you say. Well, what, you want to play another couple songs for us?
Sure.
Sure. So we, as you mentioned earlier, we have about 17 CDs. Hey, Andy, could you turn that volume down? Thanks. And they're varied. You know, we have a rock band, and some of them are acoustic. And as you mentioned, we have our Bob Dylan festivals. So we have one that's a couple full of Bob Dylan songs. But we have one genre of music that never seemed to fit on like a regular CD, and that was our funny songs. Because when you have a 9 serious songs and then one funny one, it kind of sticks out. So we just decided to slam all of our funny songs onto one CD, and it's called Kelp, K-E-L-P, exclamation point. And as Andy likes to say,
Just like the Beatles' Help with...
none of those pesky Lennon and McCartney songs. So this is from that CD, and it's about a guy who goes out one night, has a little too much to drink, and next morning tries to figure out who done it and why.
This is called Can Anybody Tell Me Where I Was Last Night? 1, 2, 3. All I know is I was in Pasadena, drinking Budweiser in a little cantina, singing songs and arguing and shooting a bull. Somebody took offense to what I said, went and put his fist through the middle of my head. I can swear it's still in there, rolling around in my skull. Can anybody tell me where I was last night? Does anybody here know where I've been? If somebody could tell me, I'd sure on one good turn. Otherwise tonight I think I'll go out and do it again. So Fred the fireman's girl comes in. I didn't mean to stare at her, but every time I do what's natural to me, someone says I'm out of character. I thought he'd take it as a compliment when I leaned down to give her a kiss. Fred says, dude, there's a fly on your nose. I'll get it for you with my fist. Can anybody tell me where I was last night? Does anybody here know where I've been? If somebody could tell me, I'd sure on one good turn. Otherwise not, I think I'll go out and do it again. I'm stuck inside the bathroom mirror staring across at a guy who stumbled through the door to investigate the cut in his eye. All those stitches he sees, the 3 X's on a bottle of rye. Times of trouble, Mother Mary used to say, you gotta learn to shut your mouth. Funny how those words of wisdom come to mind after mine are already out. I must have been thinking of old Grandpa. He used to lean down over my bed and say, you go around watching what you say all the time. Son, you never get much said. Can anybody tell me where I was last night? Does anybody here know where I've been? If somebody can tell me, I'd sure on one good turn. Otherwise, I'm not going to go out and do it again. Can anybody tell me where I was last night? Can anybody tell me where I was last night? Can anybody tell me where I was last night? Think I'm gonna do it again. Can anybody tell me where I was?
Yeah.
All right.
Should we go ahead and do another one?
Yeah, do another one for us.
All right.
Here's one called 1 Foot on Your Doorstep, 1 Foot on the Road.
Last night I left the bed where we lay sleeping, drifted through the walls out to the road. No, it don't take no college education to know this dream is moving way too slow. Now for days we ain't spoke to one another. We both know that something's wrong. There's a pain I feel somewhere inside me. Something that I used to have is gone. Now I've got 1 foot on your doorstep, 1 foot on the road. Every step I take I either make or break. The promise of the love you hold. Someday I'll make it to the river to wash my soul in the water, fresh and cold. But for now I got 1 foot on your doorstep, 1 foot on the road. I don't pretend to make excuses for the way that I am. Don't pretend to think that for you I'm gonna change. 'Cause I've known sin and I've known sorrow, and from where I stand, the straight and narrow path still looks the same. Now I've got 1 foot on your doorstep, 1 foot on the road. Every step I take I either make or break. The promise of the love you hold. Someday I'll make it to the river to wash my soul in the water, fresh and cold. But for now I got 1 foot on your doorstep, asks his God for forgiveness. Man makes excuse for his pride, but confession's no place for an honest man to rationalize or to hide.
Now I've got one foot on your doorstep,
One foot on the road. Every step I take, I either make or break. The promise of the love you hold.
someday I'll make it to the river to wash my soul in the water, fresh and cold.
But for now, I got
One foot on your doorstep.
one foot on your
One foot on your doorstep.
foot on the road. Every step I take, I either make or break.
The promise of the love you hold.
Someday I'll
Take it to the river to wash my soul in the water, fresh and cold. But for now I got one foot on your doorstep.
Ooh, one foot on the road.
All right. Well, let's talk about your impressive CD collection that you have of 17 CDs. Now, that's quite a catalog. And 3 DVDs, is in fact, and we'll talk about some of those in a little while. But I went to your website at, see, it's Andy, is it Renee and Andy or Andy and Renee? I forgot which one goes first.
AndyandRenee.com.
AndyandRenee.com, and they've got a music page, everybody. You can go there and download their music, and they have snippets from the songs from each one of the albums. And you go back to like 97. So you've dug back into your cassette tapes.
Actually, in your list, you forgot the 3 cassettes that we produced before the CD was invented.
I think
Yeah.
1990 was our first one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Okay, wow.
Yeah,
So,
because CDs were too expensive to duplicate then. So, so you had cassettes. Yeah.
and so you do mention, though you talk about your producer and Marty, is that right, Marty?
Right. Marty Rifkin. Yeah.
And Marty Rifkin. So tell us a little bit, might as well talk a little bit about Marty, because he's pretty important to you guys, having been your producer for how many albums?
Probably, let's see, 1, 2, I would say probably at least 15 of them, I think, probably. The first 2, I think we self-produced, and then something
our
were broken.
first cassettes
Yeah.
and our first 2 CDs we produced on our own, and
And
at
they
that
sounded
point-
great.
Yeah, and at that point, and we're happy with them, but it was we weren't trained producers, and we just decided we wanted to get a different ear, so we did a little experiment with Marty, and Marty has an incredible pedigree. He's toured the world with Bruce Springsteen. He's played on albums by Elton John and Jewel and Tom Petty and Glenn Campbell.
Dwight Yoakam.
Wow.
Many,
It's impressive credits, yeah.
yeah, and we were introduced to him through a friend named Bob Malone, who was the keyboard player for John Fogerty for about 12 years, right up until this past year. And he worked with Marty a lot. So we did a little experiment. We chose 2 songs and we had Marty produce them, and we didn't interfere. We didn't criticize or go, no, I think we should do this or do that. We'll just do what he says. And we were really happy with the results. And
Yeah.
from that point on, everything we've done with Marty.
And also, Marty, he's a great engineer and a great producer, but he, started out just being a musician. I think his first instrument was bass, but he plays, all guitars, and he's an absolutely amazing pedal steel player.
Oh, wow.
So, and a lot of what his kind of bread and butter, he toured and he, you know, did gigs all the time when he was younger. And once he got married and then once they had children, he decided he didn't want to tour anymore. So how was he going to, you know, not be out 7 nights a week playing,
Right.
but still be able to make a living? So he has a home studio, and, you know, even in his home studio, I think he recorded Smokey Robinson, was
yeah.
like in his bathroom doing
Yeah.
vocals or something.
Yeah.
You know, and then has a space and where he does a kind of, his bread and butter was doing demos for people, and often country demos, because he's a pedal steel player, right? So the first 2 songs we did were a little on the countryside, because our music can kind of go rock, it can go country, it can go, it's kind of all over.
It
the
is.
map.
I was listening to the albums, and you have the whole spectrum. In fact, you're doing a reggae version of a Bob
Of-
Dylan song
yeah.
on
She'll be released.
Wheel and Plow album. Yeah. So
So yeah, so he really opened up a lot of avenues for us with regard to places we could go on our records. And
Yeah.
we just created, and he's just a great guy and a great teammate and super fast, you know. Everybody who's listening who's done recording knows how infuriating it can be when you've done a take or a snippet, and then it takes a long time to get back to do your second or third take, right?
yeah.
So he's super, super fast. And that just, you know, you kind of create this rhythm and this rapport, and we've just benefited from that.
So how many Dylan songs do you guys know?
That's a good question. It's got to
I mean,
be,
after
I'd say
34
upwards
Dylan.
of 70, I think, which is only scratches the surface of the catalog that he's put out. But some of them are pretty long when it's time to, you know, a song like Hurricane or It's All Right, Ma, or Desolation Row, or songs with 10 or more verses.
Yeah.
So when you're trying to learn them, it's like learning sometimes three separate songs. So I say 70 songs, but there's, with any other songwriter, that would be the same number of words as like 140 songs.
So what made y'all decide to pull together the Dylan Fest? How did that come about?
Well, I'd have to say that the impetus was definitely Andy, who is a huge Bob Dylan fan, and I have become a huge Bob Dylan fan. But when Bob Dylan turned 50, we decided that we wanted to do a show, right?
Yeah, we thought he's so old, we better honor his catalog in some way before it's too late. And that was in 1991, and now we're all older than he was then, and he's still touring behind his new material at 82 or 3.
83, yeah. So the first one was just our band, which at that time was called The Management, and we did it in the smokiest club in our South Bay of Los Angeles here. We decided the smokier the better. Kidding. And it was also a costume party, so we had the band and people on our, you know, our friends and followers dressed up as characters or things or interpretations or misinterpretations of Bob Dylan songs. So, and we just played a 4-hour night of all Bob Dylan. And we thought, well, that was fun. So the next year our band had split up, but we did a little jam at my house, and on Bob's birthday again. And then the next year, Andy had bought a house around here that had a nice backyard. So we decided, hey, we should do it in the backyard and invite some more people to come and play. So it just kind of grew and evolved. It wasn't like a thing when we started, but it's become a thing.
What did you do during COVID?
Well,
I
you're
would-
looking at it, Barb.
Yeah, yeah.
Guess what y'all
The
did? Y'all
fact that
did the
we can
Dylan
play
Fest
for
on
you
Zoom?
now is thanks to RENEE and her tenacity to learn new things. I don't like change, and I would have been one of those musicians who, I did think it was just going to be a couple of weeks, and so I was kind of happy to laze around for a bit. And RENEE said, no, we got to learn how to live stream. And I just thought, oh, great. And so we did our first live stream within a couple of weeks or a
No,
week.
so our last live gig before the lockdown was on, I think, March 14th, and our first live stream was March 19th. And it was horrible. You know, the sound was terrible, the transmission was terrible, the video was terrible, except we had so many people watching because everybody was freaked out, right?
Yeah.
And they wanted to kind of be together. So it was so humbling that it was, everything was, you know.
One thing that
yeah.
did work was the chat, at the chat place on the screen. And
I think we did
So
Facebook at first because that's kind of the only place we
Yeah.
knew of, so people could
Stream
make
to
comments.
Facebook, yeah.
But we reached out to people that we knew and studied, you know, downloaded stuff, and we're very fortunate with the circle of expertise that we have. We could drive to somebody's house and they'd say, well, I plug in this piece of gear, and I think
Well, it wasn't driving, it was actually doing like those team meeting things on, you know, on your computer, because you couldn't go visit anybody. And that was a
Right.
thing that was, you know, another deterrent was that, you know, nobody's computer is exactly the same. But that being said, within about, I would say about three weeks or so, you know, we mostly had it down. There were still, you know, things that would happen for no reason, like instead of talking to you and our voices coming out the way they're supposed to, it might for no reason be like your Minnie Mouse or your Leonard Cohen, you know?
Never
And you
happened.
set it up the same way you did
funny.
last time.
Yeah. And
That's
so we bought things and we learned things, and pretty soon we could do it, and it was its own animal. Our studio is in my house, and so I actually really enjoyed that year, as terrifying and terrible as it was for the country and for the world, and for relationships and people in school and all of the people who lost their employment. For someone who likes to be by himself in his room, seeing if I can do this a little better or that, it was a great period of learning. And so we learned a lot of music. We rehearsed real hard. We went through because we've played together for so long, we have over 500 songs on our set list. You know, songs maybe 80 or so are original, and then the others are covers. And so we went from the beginning to the end, and we played all of the songs for this audience who, being on YouTube or Facebook, was just a big enough piece of what their life had been that they rewarded us really generously and kept us going for that entire time.
Yeah. And so May rolled around and you live streamed Dylan Fest.
Yeah, we had been kind of doing them for about 6 weeks by the beginning of May, and it was going to be the 30th annual Dylan Fest was the one that was 2020.
Yeah.
And it was going to be the biggest ever and all of that, you know, and then it was like, oh, it's canceled. You know?
It was because it was
Yeah.
international. You could
Yeah,
go,
you're
you
right.
could see it all over the world.
You're right. So it was funny. Some friends of ours who Andy plays with and I sing with sometimes, they had done a couple of live streams from their house where they, did the live thing, and then they also ran like a video, and so I was like, well, if they can do that, we could do that. So then I was like, we could get musicians who usually play at Dylan Fest to make videos of them singing Dylan songs, and then we'll live stream from here, and then we'll run them, and then so instead of one day, it'll be three-hour days, and then, the Rolling Stones did that thing where Mick was in Barbados and Keith was in France and Charlie was in London, and, they did a song together in these little boxes. I bet our band could do that. Why don't we do 6 of those?
Oh, that took a special application.
Yeah, so all of our band members that recorded there. We all had to learn how to use GarageBand, and we laid down our tracks and we sent them to Marty, and Marty did his magic on his end. And then our saxophone player's wife is a fantastic editor, and everybody sent her their phone videos.
Of them playing to
Yeah.
their
Wow.
tracks. And then she edited it all together, and it was
Amazing.
it was a monumental amount of work.
Yeah,
And I
that's
will
cool.
say it was probably the most work I've done in my whole life in a concentrated period of time. But the result was, you know, we had these 40 videos of people doing Dylan songs. We had 6 videos that looked amazing with all this editing and whatever of these 6 Dylan songs, which we then turned into, recorded 4 more songs and made our CD, The Wheel and the Plow. And it was an extraordinary period on every level for everyone, right? And
A new extension of Dylan Fest.
yeah. And we were just fortunate enough to, you know, have the studio, have the time and the, at least, impetus to say, we don't want to stop playing, we don't want to stop performing for people so they can be together. And we were just really, really lucky to be able to pull it off. And so we did 2 shows a week for all of COVID. And then now we still do them when we have time. So we're doing our, I think, 234th live stream.
Wow.
On July.
But I
12th.
looked at your calendar, you're pretty busy. You've got standing gigs every week at different clubs, so.
Yeah, we've been super fortunate, Barb. It's just been a real blessing.
Well, you already have your Dylan Fest scheduled for May the 11th, 2025. So people
True.
can tune in, or they can go to your website. And do you have the location for that?
Yes, it's in Torrance, so it's near where the city hall is, and they have a performing arts center there and lots of different places. And so it's in an outdoor plaza with a great stage.
Okay.
And this year we had, I think, over 60 musicians, and we had over 700 people attend.
That sounds wonderful. So why don't we've been talking a lot. Why don't y'all play us a couple more
All right,
songs?
thanks,
Okay.
Barb.
All right, great.
Well, we're actually going to do a song that Andy wrote during COVID right now. So it's not on a
Perfect.
recording yet, but it's called Hammer, Chisel, Down.
Now, I'm just going to take a second here and tune, make sure that, yep, good thing I did. I know this is dead air to the viewer, but it'll be worth
You
it.
could tell a joke while you tune if you want, Andy.
I'm tuned.
You're tuned?
I'll
Oh, too
save
bad.
the audience that pleasure. Yeah. All right, hammer, chisel, down. One day we woke up and the sky was falling. We saw the life we knew in ashes and on the shore. We ran, we ducked, we hid, we scattered. We stood and then we noticed it wasn't falling everywhere or forevermore. We'd lost the battle. Maybe we'd lost the battle. We just lost the battle, but we're still in the war. One day I woke up to hear my brothers crying, and to the rage of generations spreading door to thrones of power, and crashing like the sound of iron statues on a concrete floor. Oh, yeah, we lost the battle. Maybe we lost the battle. We just lost the battle. Oh, we're still in a war. Hey! The twins of wickedness are strong, an ugly silence and a terrifying sound. They've got the guns, we've got the numbers and the tools. Hammer, chisel, down. We lost the battle, but we will win. We lost the battle, but we will win. We lost the battle, but we will win. We will win the war. We lost the battle, but we will win the war. We lost the battle, but we will win the war. We lost the battle, but we will win the war. Yeah, we will win the war. We lost the battle. We will win the war. We will win. We lost the battle, but we will win the war. We lost the battle. We will win the war. We lost the battle. We will win the war.
Thanks, you guys.
Go ahead, keep going.
All
We
right.
got to squeeze in a bunch of music here.
All right, this is called Kids These Days. I came to you like a parachute and landed all around your world. For more than a flash in your brief 9 years, you were my little girl. Your father and I needed help from the start, and I had a child of my own. 2 sudden siblings with your flexible hearts would dream into this fragile home. Kids these days. We fought the battle till we lost the war. I took what I could and limped away. Now I think of you as I walk the floor, and all the things there wasn't time to say to kids these days. When the judge put your father and me in our places, you and I were separated too. Time chips away, but never erases the love you can't know. I carry for you, for kids these days. I'm really not the praying kind. If I look close enough, I'd find
something I could say or do. But some things they don't prepare you for. Then you hear the closing of the door, and here I stand.
But baby,
Where are you? Today my son brought a card from a school and said, here is something from my sister. I read your note through the teardrops pool next to your hand-painted picture. Will it break you down? Will it make you strong? Can you love, or will you live in fear? One thing I know, as time moves along, what you become, it started here. With kids these days, kids these days. Kids these
Oh, very nice. Very sweet. So, hey, Renee, I was really curious about the Best Solo Blues Artist Award that you won at the Telluride Blues and Brews Festival. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
Well, it was kind of interesting. It was all the way back in 2005, and Andy and I had some gigs in. Sure, I need another cable. Oh, it's right there. Sorry, Andy and I had some gigs in Denver that we were going, and in September, and I had seen on something about this solo blues artist at Telluride, and I'd never been to Telluride, so I thought, well, I'd love to go to Telluride. So I kind of, the solo part of it, I just kind of pushed out of my mind and thought, oh, I'll deal with the solo part later. So I sent him a version of a song of a friend of ours wrote, Karen Nash, who's a great singer-songwriter, called Somebody to Leave. It's a really great blues song, and our band had done a version of it. So I sent that version, and I got this email back saying, from Telluride folks, it was like, A, do you play solo? B, do you have a record deal? And C, I can't remember what C was. So I was like, yeah, I kind of play solo. Can Andy play with me? And no, I don't have a record deal. So they were like, okay, well, you're in. And I was, I have my guitar tech here. And so I was like, well, crud, now I have to actually play solo. This is inconvenient because I don't really like to play solo that much.
you're leaving out the
Well,
best
wait a minute.
part.
Yeah, so anyway, they picked 6 people out of however many people entered, and everybody had to play 3 songs, and 2 they could choose, and then everybody had to do the song Sweet Home Chicago.
Oh.
So, because they wanted to see everybody's take on it.
Uh-huh.
And I'm kind of a singer who plays, not a player who sings. So I was a little afraid. So, and the other complication was I didn't know that song really. Being the blues aficionado.
Baby,
Yeah.
baby,
So how did you
don't
go about
wanna
learning it,
go?
I did learn it, yeah. So, go ahead, Andy.
So she had to learn it. So she did what all the great blues players did, Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, all those guys. She went to the internet and she downloaded a bunch of MP3s. And in that process, she listened to Eric Clapton's version where he, on record and recorded and pressed copies for millions of people, made a mathematical error. And
You know, a lot of blues songs have like 1 and 1 is 2, 2 and 2 is 4, come on baby, can I have some more, that kind of thing.
Right.
So his was 1 and 1 is 2, 2 and 4 is 8, come on baby, don't you make me late. And I was like, 2 and 4 is not 8, it's 6. And Andy and I got the big kick out of that, and you know, and I was like, well, maybe that's metric, or maybe, you know, he's British, so, or maybe it's new math or whatever.
it's in kilograms.
So we decided to write some of our own verses to the song and take it kind of old school math. And we were just doing it for grins, you know. So we wrote 3 verses, and Andy kind of thought I was going to do 1 verse, but I ended up doing all 3. And so I knew the blues like purists were probably going to hate it, but you know, I didn't expect to win anyway, so whatever, you know. And so if you want, we can play it.
Yeah, let's hear it. That'd be great.
So this is our ridiculous. It's on our CD Kelp. It's our version of Sweet Home Chicago. Listen and learn. There will be a quiz. Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go to that same old place, to my sweet home, Chicago? So we start traditional. 1 and 1's 2, 2 and 2's 4. I'm heavy loaded, baby, booked, I got to go. Crying, pretty baby, don't you wanna go to that same old place, to my sweet home, Chicago? A little more complicated. The area of a circle is pi r squared. You don't need a PhD to see how much I care. Well, I'm crying for you, baby. Don't you wanna go back from California to my sweet home, Chicago? All right, Andy, maybe you should play one. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Pythagoras used to say, determines the length of the hypotenuse. Every night and day, oh, my love for you, honey, it's a love triangle, you know.
Isosceles.
Back from California to my sweet home, Chicago. All right, ready? 3 to the power of 2 is a 9. 2 plus pi is 5.14159. Yeah, my love for you, darling. It goes on and on.
To infinity.
Back from California to my sweet home, Chicago. All right, let's bring it home, shall we?
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go?
So did you guys write that together?
We did, actually. And a funny thing, so in the last verse, to be funny to ourselves, it's pi plus, what is it?
2 plus pi is 5.14159.
And of
Thanks
course,
to this song, I now have pi memorized to 4 digits.
and of course, in math, you don't add pi to things, you multiply it, but we thought it was funny. And then yesterday or Saturday, we were doing a gig, and it was in Silicon Valley up in Northern California, and there was a guy there, and
He's a
we mentioned he's a
mathematician.
mathematician, and he said that if you add pi to a number, it's an imaginary number. So that's what we.
He said we're irrational.
we're
That made
rational,
us
that was it.
irrational.
It's an irrational number, so we in turn are irrational, which is probably true. So.
Yeah. Well, musicians are irrational anyway, so that just flows right along with that.
Exactly.
So I wanted to mention that you guys have a PBS concert special. Black Box opens, Andy and Renee, and that was filmed at the Atlas Black Box Theater at the University of Colorado, Boulder. And I think that's where I got the University of Denver and
Yeah.
Colorado thing mixed up. Recently, that won a Heartland Emmy. So, wow.
Yeah, like a regional Emmy.
That's great.
Yeah, it was kind of, so what happened was we ended up meeting we had a lovely friend, Kathleen Sutherland, and her boss. She worked at University of Colorado for this amazing, it's like an integrated arts program with theater and music and media, and her boss saw us, and they wanted to do, their idea was they wanted to do kind of an Austin City Limits type of thing.
Yeah.
It didn't kind of, I think, continue like they wanted it to, but anyway, we were the guinea pigs, luckily. And then, so it turned out okay. So the PBS, Rocky Mountain PBS, picked it up and played it on PBS in the
That's
Rocky Mountain
great.
region. Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's great. So
Yeah.
is it to be found on YouTube?
I think it is actually.
We'll have to look for it.
Yeah, and we traveled with Marty Rifkin, came with us, and then we had two amazing musicians, friends of ours from Colorado, Mike Marlier on drums and Chris Engelman on bass, who played with us, and it was a great experience.
That's great. Well, this has
Except-
been a great experience for me.
Thank you.
I think it's about time for us to close, and I want to be sure y'all get enough songs in. Do you want to close with one or two songs, however
we-
you want to do it?
One's probably good because we threw that Sweet Home Chicago in there.
Okay.
All right, we'll finish off with a song about a young girl who wants to be a rock and roll star. I guess this is our version of So You Want to Be a Rock and Roll Star.
Great.
This is called Lonely and Brokenhearted.
Thank you so much for having us.
She's 11 years old, slams her bedroom door and cries. Unlocks a diary, writes a few lines, paints a flower in the margin, and with heart she dots her eyes. Her poem is a page and a half, nothing rhymes. Yeah, but she's got her own kind of cool. She says Black Lives Matter. She loves her mom and dad. All they ever wanted for her was more than they had. She was always half content with just a pencil and a pad. Ain't there always something about sweet good sad?
She's lonely.
Lonely, lonely and broken hearted, but she's got her own kind of cool.
She's lonely.
She's 23 years old, climbing the ladder of dreams. Wears her panties up high over low-cut jeans. Straps on an acoustic guitar and like Jim Morrison leans. Steps up to the microphone and screams, lonely and broken. She's got some kink and her own kind of cool. She's lonely, lonely and broken hearted.
What hell tears apart faith, time, and heart, and blind love put back together.
Taking the outside, baby, of the inside out. Take out our silence, baby, turn it into the shout of a million voices waiting, stuck in a trance, then crawling, talking, calling, walking. See you make 'em dance.
All right. Boy, I was drumming back here in the background. That was
All right.
a great song to end it with. Thank you so much, Renee and Andy, for taking the time to be with us today.
Oh, this
That
was so
was-
much fun.
Thank
Thank you.
you for having
Anytime. This is
us.
That
great.
was truly wonderful.
Thank
to
you for
those of
asking
you,
us all those questions.
Yeah,
it's fun to get to know you guys.
Yeah, thank
it
you.
was a walk down memory lane for us.
So to those of you watching or listening, thank you for tuning into the Dallas Songwriters Spotlight. Once again, thanks to our producer director, Harry Hewlett. You've been listening to our guest songwriters extraordinary, Renee SAFIER and Andy Hill. And of course, their band that they play with often is Hard Rain. You can explore more of their music and find out about their coming gigs, because they have a lot of them, at their website, andyandrenee.com. I'm Barbara McMillen. Good night from all from Dallas, Texas, and Torrance, California. Good night, everybody. Thank you
Night.
for joining us.